In this video, I'm going to talk about how to end anxiety. Whether it's anxiety from the coronavirus or anything else that's going on in society, or just normal anxiety that we as humans go through every single day. I'm going to teach you 3 techniques that I've learned over years and years of coaching that I apply to myself, as well as use with thousands and thousands of clients. It's going to help you not only gain control over your emotions whenever you get into this anxiety state, but it'll also help you gain control over your actions, which is the most important thing. Hey everybody, in this edition of the Truth About Coaching show, we're going to talk about overcoming anxiety. And right now is a really important time to talk about it as I film this video, because we're in the middle of this pandemic and so many people are dealing with isolation issues. They're actually somewhat trapped in their home, or people have lost their jobs. And even if you haven't been touched directly, there's this air in society that is causing a lot of people to feel anxious. Now, I am not a psychiatrist, so none of the things I'm talking about is meant to diagnose in any way or prescribe after some kind of a clinical diagnosis. So I'll be talking more conceptually about the idea of anxiety and how you can apply it in your life or helping clients if you're a coach right now. The definition of anxiety is a feeling of worry, nervousness, or unease, typically about an imminent event or something with an uncertain outcome. So essentially what we're talking about is the fear of the unknown. So if we remove the clinical diagnosis, we all have a certain level of anxiety because that's the way the brain operates. The brain is designed to keep us safe and alive, so it wants to know what's around every corner because it wants to prepare for whatever the dangers are that lie ahead of us. So with that definition, I mean, we could all say that we're dealing with anxiety on some level. And anxiety is a required part of growth. When you decide to grow as a human being, you go after a big goal, a big dream, you decide you want to fulfill your purpose, you've got to break through the familiar confines of your current comfort zone. So when that happens and these walls start coming down, that elicits anxiety in the brain because we don't know what's on the other side of these walls and we don't know if we can handle the walls coming down. So there's an element of anxiety that is a necessary piece of us being human. So as coaches, you have to make your clients understand that feeling anxious is not only a part of being human, but a part of growing. And one of the best ways to do that is to let them know when the anxiety is usually going to get triggered. And that's generally when we feel disrupted on any level, when we don't understand what's going on below us, when we're not sure what's going to happen in front of us. That's a function of our world or our current circumstances being disrupted. And a really good analogy to use for this is a volcano. Right? What we see is the lava that gets strewn? What happens to lava? Right? We see the lava explode out of the top of the volcano, and the lava, of course, is extremely dangerous and it destroys things as it makes its way down the volcano or it hits civilization or what have you. But if you understand, if you zoom out a little bit and you understand what causes the volcano to erupt, what causes it to erupt is the instability down at the bottom. There are, I think they're called tectonic plates on the ocean floor of the earth. And when those plates are unstable, the earth moves to try to restabilize. It's the moving of those plates that creates the disruption that then creates the explosion of lava to come out. So if we can zoom out a little bit and we see the whole picture, we recognize that the disruption is caused because the foundation needs to be restabilized. So if we become afraid of the lava and we deal with the anxiety just up here at the surface, we don't get a chance to see that it's actually a good thing in the bigger scheme. And so my experience is if clients understand the whole process, then they can have faith in the disruption, and then it's easier for them to handle the anxiety a little bit more. Because anytime that we zoom out, the thing that we were focused on really intently just got smaller because we just zoomed out and took in everything else all around it. And then once the client understands the bigger picture of disruption and anxiety, you can give them these 3 things that are critical to start to get control back, which is essentially what they're missing inside of this state of anxiety. And the first one is to get support. Don't try to do this alone. Don't allow your clients to try to overcome anxiety alone. Because when we're in this state of anxiety, we are searching with an out of control mind. We're searching from a place of survival, whether it's low intensity or high intensity. We're essentially looking around in this panic driven mode. And when we are in a panic state, we're not thinking clearly. Not only are we not thinking clearly, we're not seeing things very clearly. It's difficult to discern what's real, what's fake. The voices in our head tend to get a lot louder. And so we don't want to go through a situation like that by ourselves. And here's another thing to really understand. When we are in the state of anxiety, the mind actually craves isolation. So we will have a desire to be isolated, but that's not what we really want. Now, the mind wants to be isolated because it's in freak out mode, right? It's in panic mode, and it doesn't want anybody else to see, and all of our triggers tend to get lit up. But that's the worst thing that we can do, is to be alone, especially if we have a sense of out of control. Now, I'm not saying that you don't do anything alone. I mean, once the mind gets stabilized, of course, you can take bubble baths and write in your journal and meditate and do a lot of those things alone, but it's got to come from a place of stability. Otherwise, we're not going to get any benefits out of those activities if we're still in this panic mode based on the anxiety. The second thing is to implement controllable rituals, routines, and habits. In the state of anxiety, we're out of control, right? So we want to put back into our awareness and back into our routines something that we can control. And it doesn't even matter all that much what the routines are, because what we're wanting to introduce is just stability. So even if it's brushing your teeth twice a day, or eating at certain times during the day, getting up and going for a walk or stretching, those add an element of stability to the brain that's craving stability in this place of panic and being out of control, right? So wherever you can find stable routines, that's what you want to focus on and implement. And when you have something to focus on, the brain tends to not be so susceptible and tempted by all of the distractions all the way around. So when our brain is in this free fall, it's looking all over the place for something to grab onto. And a lot of times those things that it finds to grab onto are not healthy, or they're certainly not going to help them create any forward progress. But the brain is in such a state of free fall that it just wants to grab onto anything that it can pay attention to. So you want to be intentional about the things that you pay attention to in a state of anxiety, or to pull yourself out of a state of anxiety. And then finally, the third thing is to acknowledge the progress that you're making. Our human brain wants acknowledgement. We want to know that we're doing a good job, and we want to know that we're making progress. If you understand how valuable progress is to the brain, then you won't try to feed it these microwave approaches that are going to take it from a state of massive anxiety to complete control and calmness in 45 minutes. That's not what it's about. It's about going from this state that you're at right now that might be super unstable, head talk going all over the place, completely out of control, to a little bit more control, a little bit more stability. Maybe you've got a little bit less negative head talk attacking you. That is progress. And if we acknowledge the progress, then the progress that we've made tends to increase. But if we start at this state where we feel like we're completely out of control, we make a little bit of progress, but we don't acknowledge it, then we're going to take this new state, even though it's progress from the old state, and we're going to compare it to the ideal outcome, which is complete control now. And that deficit is not going to make us feel any better. In fact, it'll probably add to the anxiety, because here's yet another area, even though you've been trying the routines or you've been getting support or whatever it is you've been doing to combat the challenge, you're still not doing it right. And let me tell you, one of the things your brain hates more than being in a state of out of control is to try things that you think are gonna work and they don't work at all. So if you're telling yourself, I've been doing all this stuff, I've been implementing the routines and I've been doing the things that people are telling me to do and I'm not making any progress, that will cause the brain to spin out even faster and more out of control than the original state. So we've got to give ourselves progress to focus on, a little bit of acknowledgement that we're doing a good job. And if the brain knows that what it's been implementing is working a little bit, and you calm yourself down in terms of desiring or expecting these immediate results, then it's easier to take the progress that you've made and then allow yourself to just keep doing that. And when you get yourself out of all the pressure that we tend to put on ourselves, it's actually easier to make further progress in a shorter amount of time as the process continues. There's a pattern of exponential results that start to kick into play, but you've got to allow the process to go on for a little while before the exponential results start to kick in. So I hope this short discussion has been valuable for you. I hope there's something that you can implement in your own life or in the lives of your clients. And who knows, maybe by the time you watch this, the world will be completely back to, normal again. And you'll just be applying this to normal, everyday human disruptions. But especially right now when people are dealing with the real life and death threats that this virus has put upon our society, or whatever happens in the future that causes us to explode into our own anxieties or maybe implode into our own anxieties, these concepts will help calm the mind down. And anytime the mind is calmer, we can have more control over our actions, and then we create a more positive cycle. Now, if you want any help whatsoever from a coaching perspective or just a personal perspective, then please reach out to us. We offer free coaching consultations. There's a way to register down below here in the description. We'll jump on the phone with you and just support you however we can with whatever issue you're going through in your life. If you like this video, check out that video, which is a recording of a live coaching session where I helped a woman dissolve her deep anxiety in just a few minutes. So this is a captured real coaching demonstration right out of one of our paid programs. This client had a lot of fear wrapped around her son potentially dying.